Hello and welcome back to the Leinster Listen. I'm your host Michael Annan and this is episode 63, the review of Ireland versus Japan in the Nations Championship. The topics we'll discuss today are some important podcast updates, the Nations Championship match results, overall opinion of the game, analysis of the game events, Nations Championship positioning after this weekend, and then a discussion point on the standout debutants from the Nations Championship so far. Alright folks, the important podcast updates, and don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. No, it's a much better, I suppose, story than that. You might have heard some dynamic ads, I suppose, on the podcast, played around a bit with that, and look, just figured out that, I'm not going to do that anymore. So they're gone. I have removed them from the podcast, and they will never be re-added. No mid-roll inserts, no algorithm spots. No, that's it. That they're just gone. If you have noticed them before and hated them, well, they're dead. And if you've never noticed them, fair play to you. But either way, they're not coming back. There we have it. That's it. No more ads. So hopefully that's a good one. I did open a Ko-fi account if anyone wanted to, I suppose, help the podcast along. But again, that's only if you're up there for that. But without further ado, let's get into the proper stuff here, and that is the Nations Championship match results this weekend, and it was electric again. I mean, a very good weekend. Super Saturday is turned into a very cool thing. I know some people really don't like the format. Personally, I do. I just like throwing on the telly. I mightn't catch them all, but I'll throw on the telly and then suddenly the rugby. So I'm like, grand. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. Obviously, a couple of them I did watch in full. Notably, obviously, the Ireland one. But a few of them were very entertaining, especially one that was absolutely wild, and that was South Africa versus Scotland. But anyway, let's get into these results. So first and foremost, we have New Zealand 47, Italy 17. Very dominant team there from the All Blacks. Probably I predicted it quite well in thinking that Italy would stay close until about half-time, and they were. It was only about 4 points that separated them half-time. But obviously the All Blacks just pulled away then into the second half and really dominated that second half. Next up, you had Australia 26, France 42. Again, something that maybe at halftime looked like a different game, but then France just came out with a bit of flair and really went uncontested for an awful lot of points there in the second half. Next up, we had Japan 20 and Ireland 36. And let me tell you one thing, the scoreboard there does not reflect the match that we had, and I will obviously go into that in much more detail in a few minutes. Next up, we had Fiji 8, England 73. An absolute annihilation there of Fiji. A very controversial red card there as well, an actual stamping event in that one. So not great optics for Fiji, unfortunately, but definitely a great optics there for England, and it's going to save Steve Borthwick's job for another while longer. Next up, we had South Africa 42, Scotland 28. And again, one of those games that if you look at the scoreboard, you might think that South Africa were just dominant. But it was not the case. It was an absolute brilliant game. I'd say if I was to give you one game of all them to go and watch the highlights of, that is the game. It was so crazy. It was an absolute mental game. So definitely go and watch that. Scotland, within about 7-8 minutes to go, were actually only one converted try away, and then the Safas just pulled out a bit of flair, took Scotland's defence a little bit of a run, and just got ahead a little bit more than that. But it was a very good game, and one you do have to go and watch. And then last but not least was Argentina 35, Wales 21. Yes, the Argentinians there, the Pumas, played a very good game. In fairness, they really took the Welsh defence apart, and it was a good game too. And I must say, Wales again probably inflated a little bit by the scoreboard there, didn't look as good as the scoreboard would tell you, but Argentina were just fantastic, so fair play to them. Fun fact though from that, we actually have, and I'm probably spilling over into the positioning of it, I suppose, but after 2 rounds in the Nation Championship, the Northern and Southern Hemisphere tables are actually deadlocked. They're at exactly 33 competition points each. Northern Hemisphere breakdown there being Ireland with 10, France 7, Scotland 6, England 5, Wales 5 and Italy 0. And the Southern Hemisphere breakdown being South Africa 10, New Zealand 10, Argentina 6, Japan 4, Australia 3 and Fiji 0. Now, the only thing, the difference there being the aggregate points difference, but it's actually perfectly balanced. So the Northern Hemisphere have a plus 22, and the Southern Hemisphere have a -22. So just crazy there. That we, after 2 rounds, we're nearly perfectly balanced, as all good things should be. But yeah, round 3 obviously is going to probably split it. You're talking Ireland versus New Zealand, top 2 there, both with 10 points. So that is going to tip the scale. But yeah, again, I just kind of have to talk about the wildest game of the weekend, and that has to be South Africa versus Scotland. It was in Pretoria, 10 tries, 70 points. Just mental. It was mental. The Scots really brought it to them. I mean, they roared the first half. It was so good. They were level at 14-14 at half time. It was just brilliant. And Townsend's side were on top for large parts of that first half. Now, they probably could have put more away, but they just really, they just stuck it to them. Now, one will say it's a little bit of an inexperienced Bok 15, but there was still some very big names there, so it's not exactly saying it was their second team or anything. A second half burst then from the hosts, from Elrilu, Damian Willemse, Zach Porthen. They put South Africa probably 35-14 up, and I suppose at that point you're probably thinking, right, that's it. You're going to see another flurry of tries here from the Safas, and it's game over. But no, the Scots wouldn't go down without a fight, and they came back to 35-28 with 10 minutes left. And it was one of those crazy ones because they actually had possession into about the last 4 minutes, and I actually thought they were going to get another try, and just one little slip up there with a very poor pass, and out in the side it went, and then South Africa just came back with a perfect set piece play and crashed one over there to get perfectly away from the Scots to seal it in the 78th minute there. But let me tell you, the Springboks actually missed 46 tackles against Scotland. That's not something you normally see against the Safas. But it was the speed, it was the precision. The Scots really had the drive there. They really showed it to the Safas way more than England did the last time. So let me tell you, as I said, if there's one to go watch the highlights of that one, or even watch it in full. It was a very entertaining game. But yeah, I suppose the Nations Championship position, then I suppose let's go into it. We'll kind of combine them all here to see who's actually on top, and it might inflate us a little bit. So you've actually Ireland there with 10 points, maximum haul from the 2 games, obviously. You have South Africa there with 10 points as well, New Zealand with 10 points, and then you have France with 7, Wales with 5, Scotland with 6, England with 5. Sorry, actually should have put England and Wales down there. And then you have Japan with 4 points, Argentina with 6 points, Australia with 3 points, Italy 0, and Fiji 0. But as I said, the hemisphere totals there are actually tied perfectly, 33-33, plus 22 points difference for the Northern Hemisphere, and a minus 22 for the Southern Hemisphere. Crazy. I do think we're going to see a pull away from that now in round 3. But it is an interesting one that we are fairly well balanced, something that Thanos would probably definitely like from that result. But yeah, look, without further ado, let's go into Ireland versus Japan. Alright folks, let's start off with the prediction and a review of what I was saying in the preview. Well, my prediction there was Ireland 41, Japan 17. Thank God I'm not a betting man, because it was not the case. No, the actual score there, as I said before, was Japan 20, Ireland 36. And again, the scoreboard kind of inflates the result there a little bit. But, I had the right winner, obviously. I'll give myself that. Definitely wrong margin, wrong shape. I did think we would actually go well beyond that. But, no one could have predicted that the midway through there, that, Japan 13... Ireland 12, a bit crazy coming into the first half. But look, man of the match prediction, I said Tyburn. I also get that wrong as well. It was not Tyburn, but it was the person I said I hope it was, and it was Sean Jansen. So I'm delighted for that. But look, overall opinion there, very hard fought. But look, a win is a win. Very dirty one, bit messy. We had 9 changes, 4 debutants. It was always going to be a little bit different than our usual gig. But it was a gritty win, but a win nonetheless. And that's, how many times, if you've been a long-term listener, how many times have I said that? And I don't mind a win. A win is a win. I'll never say I don't like winning, even if it doesn't be absolutely overwhelming that we have won that. No, I am happy out. We got it in the end. But yeah, I suppose let's look at the actual, the pieces inside of this, and we'll start off as we normally do with the scrums. And yeah, early on the scrums were it was panic stations, like squeaky bum time panic stations there. I actually took a picture of the telly and put it on my Instagram saying, scrums are under pressure now in the first half, because we actually were giving away so many scrum penalties. So not great in the first half. It was, okay then moving on into the second half. But yeah, I think, Japan kind of fell asunder in the second half. So I think the scrums were more functional rather than dominant. And that's probably not what you want to see. The front pack there being very strong. But Japan got a scrum 5 meters out from a Kelleher line out error, and it was a platform for Era's second half try. So yeah, something that we just really need to work on. You're coming up against New Zealand. I know this is a very, as all things I say in this episode, it was a very varied team. It was a very changed team. We swapped out a lot of people there, a lot of ones that maybe haven't been playing with each other. So there is that kind of caveat. You have to take the pinch of salt that goes in with that. But look, Ireland's pack, we wore down Japan in the second half. We've done an awful lot better of a job. So that was a good thing as well. Coming up there and keeping that momentum going with the scrums, even though you weren't doing too great with them. And then obviously O'Toole's first test try came from a phase play after Nick Timoney burst an offload. Not exactly a scrum penalty platform, but it's your front rows there are going to want to showcase what they're good at. And then we also had some front row debuts there with Bohan and Sam Illo off the bench as well. So yeah, hugely rotated pack. Scrums not exactly what you'd want them to be, but did the job right. Moving over there to the lineouts though, and they were probably the biggest worry. They're probably the biggest talking point. A lot of the media there talking about them already. It was same story as Sydney, only probably worse, I guess. Kelleher just really having a mare of a time there. He overthrowed the line out. It didn't hit the mark a couple of times. There was one there I thought was arguably a bit strange in terms of the rule set, right? Because Kelleher had thrown it long and into a high pack at the back from I think it was a 6-man line out. And Japan had just had one person jump up in the air, right? Which was technically them contesting the line out. And it was given away for being crooked. So I was like, that's a bit strange, I think you'd probably have to fully lift a player before that rule kind of kicks in. But yeah, look, overall I suppose Kelleher just not really having the best time with them. A couple of errant throws there in the second half as well, which gave Japan the scrum, as I said. And even Conor Murray there flagged on BBC Radio Ulster saying, the line was a worry for Ireland and New Zealand to be targeting that next week. But I think if you're New Zealand and you were saying that game is what we want to do and we want to target that, you'd be kind of stupid, right? Because none of those players, an awful lot of those players aren't going to be playing next week. So it is a bit strange. Burns' captain's run steady things, I suppose, a little bit. But it is something we will have to focus on. We will have to make sure that doesn't happen again, considering that against Australia we did have similar issues, but not as bad really. But yeah, overall, not great. Something we definitely will just want to forget about. And poor old Kelleher there, I feel for him, because he'll probably be kicking himself today looking back at those. And moving over there to defence, yeah, I suppose the defence was actually our safety blanket. We did very, very good there. Japan couldn't sustain an attack really at all. We had very good line speed. I suppose the blitz defence has actually worked there a good bit. I did think that Chosoku rugby by Japan was going to be something we had to watch out for, but it didn't really kick in for them. I know they had moments there where they did their super fast rugby, but it didn't seem like they were capitalising on what they should have been doing, which is the shallow kicks and then the runs with them. Didn't see much of that. They tried to go through us in the normal sense, out to the wing, or maybe a couple of phase plays through crash throughs, but we're doing very good there. So it was our safety blanket. I'm happy enough with that. And I know there was a couple of superb tackles there that we just did fantastic with. So yeah, Ty Byrne there, he stopped a maul very close to the line. I think actually we've probably improved upon the defence over the last game. I know I said we're very close there, but think it was more the attack and Japan's defence just being fantastic. And an awful lot of this, is conflated a little bit by Japan doing very well, which is like, people kind of say, it's probably a bit cliche. It's like, well, did we win or did Japan lose? I think it's a bit of both, right? Because Japan just did very well. They were just very good in their attack, quite decently in their defence. So they really stepped up to the mark there. But yeah, our defence wasn't something to worry about. I think, Farrell will be happy enough. I don't think it was a pain point for us. The one thing, though, I will say was the attack, right? And the attack for us was a little bit blunt at times. Obviously clinical enough to get over the line and win it. Once we got inside their 22, I think we did fairly decently. But getting into their 22 was kind of the problem there. And Japan had done this very good defensive strategy, which kind of mimicked the blitz defence that we have, but they just seemed to have 2 men for every 1 man we had. But I must say that when it worked very well. There was quick hands there sent out to Jacob Stockdale, for Nick Timoney's 8th try, fantastic there. Actually, notably here, 3 of the 5 tries came from Ulster men, so fair play to them, huge for that. And then we obviously had Kieran Frawley there with the conversions. Arguably, actually, he only missed 1, and it was his easiest one, so he'll be kicking himself for that. But it was a new combination there as well with Craig Casey, Jamie Osborne, and Kieran Frawley. So the attack, I think, because of that, they hadn't played too much with each other. A little bit blunt. I think we could have done better. I know Nathan Doak came on, kind of steadied the ship a little bit as well. Harry Byrne obviously came on as well. He played a blinder in the small space of time he came on for. But really, we laboured for those tries an awful lot. Once we got into 22, played a little bit better inside their 5. I think once we got into their 5, we were very clinical, but came to that point was very tough, very, very tough. The 5th try there obviously required us to have them have a yellow card as well. So yeah, look, probably something we can forget about, I suppose, in terms of an Ireland game. But again, it was an experiment, right? We had 4 debutants, 9 changes from the main team there that played Australia. So all in all, a win was a win, lads. Who cares? We're all delighted after watching a very good game of rugby that kept you on the edge of your seat. So that's all we're looking for, really. Moving over there to some notable players, Robbie Henshaw. Have to talk about him first. My God, I actually did post on Reddit saying I hope he never retires, because he's just, you see him come out and you're thinking, Jesus, fair play to Robbie. He's playing another season in a green shirt, and then he just does something spectacular. So obviously scored a try himself. Fantastic, really. But I love the man. I think he's just electric. And I'm probably a little bit biased there, obviously, because, a big old Westmead man. So I'm always thinking, no, he needs to just stay on now forever and don't be moving away from Ireland, because we need a lad from the Midlands staying on there. But no, fantastic game for him. He played a blinder. I think, for all the time he was on, he was really doing good carries, good defence, and then obviously good attacking structure. So fair play to him. Normally I only talk about Leinster players, but I think it'd be amiss if I didn't talk about Sean Jansen on his debut, getting the man of the match there as well. Fair play to him. Fantastic. I was so disappointed for him when he made that run on his own. Looked like he was clear and got tackled for his first try. Now obviously he got one later on, but he definitely deserved it. He crashed over there at the 51st minute. But my God, he played so well for someone who's just come on for his debut. And I want to just commend him for it, because every time he had the ball, he looked so dominant. He was doing fantastic carries. His defensive plays were just on point. My God, he's definitely going to be in that green shirt way more. And obviously, a much more green shirt. He plays for Connacht, but I mean, a deeper green for Ireland. You're going to see him 100%. You have to rely on him. I hope he's in the World Cup. He is going to be one of the key figures we need there. Probably a bench player for us, but you have to have him. You have to have him in that squad. Fair play to him. Next up there, Jimmy O'Brien. I just think, Jimmy O'Brien, he's after having to step up to the mark there. One of the only non-changes there, I suppose, coming from Australia, considering that Rob Balcoon is still injured. So played a good game, a decent game. I know there's probably arguments online that a lot of players on the team didn't play fantastically, but I won't be talking about who didn't play well. What I will be talking about is Jimmy Bryan, and he has done a fairly decent job there. He kept his place, obviously, as I said, but I think Jimmy O'Brien is one of those players that you can rely on. He's a steadfast, constant player, and you want that. So a fair play to him. And but last but not least, Thomas Clarkson. Yeah, obviously started tie head. Farrell being rested there. Scrum's not exactly great, but I will say his work rate is fantastic, and he never comes onto the pitch, and you're never having to worry about him having an overly bad game in terms of his carries, which is one of the main points you want a tie head to have. If he has the ball, you want him to be an absolute bull on the pitch and run through lads, and that's what he did. So fair play to Clarkson, a decent game for him as well. Referee there was Andrew Piardi, obviously as I said, the grand final URC referee as well, and he had a fairly decent game. Like the yellow card he gave for Hayata Ira was fair enough because it was a repeat infringements, more of a team yellow, and it was exactly right. But he let the game flow, very good contest, stayed tight I suppose the whole game, and he didn't do any crazy TMO controversies. So a fantastic game all in all there. I suppose in line, look, Ireland made a 10 for 10 now in the Nation Championship. 36-20 win. Dirty win, messy win nonetheless. Happy out. Alright folks, very quickly the match events. So in the 4th minute you had a try for Japan. Tyra Main, he pounced actually from an overthrown line out there from Ron Kelleher and ran from halfway. Very poor set piece unfortunately for us. But their first try there and successfully converted there by Takuro Matsunaga. Brought the score, Japan 7, Ireland 0. 8 minutes then, a try for Ireland, Nick Timoney. Multi-phase score there under the posts. Fantastic, Nick Timoney. I love it when he scores. He's just so good. Jamie Osborne, obviously, half break and hands from Frawley. And then Stockdale as well on the build-up, passing finally to Nick Timoney to crash over there. That was successfully converted by Kieran Frawley. Brought the score even, Japan 7, Ireland 7. 18th minute then, a penalty for Japan. Slotted over by Takura Matsunaga. Craig Casey kicked it out in the full. Stuart McCluskey was pinged to the breakdown as well then, so just gave them a perfect opportunity. Fairly decently far out actually, mind you, and they just edged in front then. Brought the score, Japan 10, Ireland 7. 21st minute then, a try for Ireland, Tom O'Toole. Close range finish there. Patient multi-phase build up, very long. But Nick Timoney burst right through, offload then and lead up out to Tom O'Toole, and a perfect little try. That one was actually probably arguably the easiest kick for Kieran Frawley, and he just sliced it, so the conversion was missed. Brought score, Japan 10, Ireland 12. 27th minute then, another penalty for Japan and slotted over by none other than Takuro Matsunaga. Second penalty obviously for him, put them 13-12 ahead at half time. Just before half time. Japan 13, Ireland 12. But thankfully Robbie Henshaw came through in 35th minute, try for Ireland. Powerful finish for him, close range on his 85th cap, mind you. Good man, good Westmeath man there. Martin's return after missing Six Nations there as well, so fair play to him. That was successfully converted by Kieran Frawley. Brought score, Japan 13, Ireland 19. 51st minute then, try for Ireland, Sean Jansen, and a brilliant one it was, a debut score from him. Bundy Aki actually punched through the midfield there, and Ron Kelleher carried it down to the left before throwing it right to Jansen, who finished that as well. So that was successfully converted there by Kieran Frawley. Brought a score, Japan 13, Ireland 26. 59th minute then, a try for Japan, Hayata Ira. So this one actually came from a third loss line out from us, right on our own 5 metre line, so not great. And then Ira dived over under the post there, and that was successfully converted by Takura Matsunaga. Brought a score, Japan 20, Ireland 26. 71st minute then, a penalty for Ireland and slotted over by none other than Harry Byrne. Fair play to him. A decent kick there. He was outside the 35 metres there, so not the easiest kick, but he stretched our lead there to 2 scores, thank God. And that was Japan 20, Ireland 29. 78th minute then, you had a yellow card for Japan, and that was for Hayata Ira. Repeat infringements, it was a team yellow, nothing too crazy there. Japan down to 14 men in the last few minutes. And then we had, just to finish it off, cherry on top, 80th minute try there for Ireland, Tom Stewart. A very fine team move there with the clock in the red. And Nathan Doak was actually involved in the build-up since he was brought on very close to that point as well. That was successfully converted by Harry Byrne. Brought the score and the final score, Japan 20, Ireland 36. man of match there was Sean Jansen, and he deserved it every little bit. The New Zealand-born Connacht player said it was his dream come true and a very special moment in his post-match interview, and fair play to him, it definitely was. So I can tell you now, he was my hope it's match prediction. I know I should really just pick one. I'm getting a bit lazy here trying to get two, but look lads, I don't get many of these right, but look, delighted that it was him, and he deserved every bit of it. Alright folks, discussion point is the standout debutants from the Nations Championship so far. And I've talked about him enough, but I'm going to talk about him again. Sean Jansen, yeah, look, he was the headline actor round 2. Started number 8 there. He scored his opener try for his debut game at the 51st minute. And he got man of the match as well. Like, that is the perfect start to a debut game you could ever want. A try, a medal, and got to talk in a post-match interview, which I'm sure he was delighted about. But yeah, as I said, New Zealand-born former Otago man, plays for Connacht, fantastic for Connacht. He's very good, and he had a dozen carries and 14 tackles there at Newcastle. So he absolutely ripped into Eddie Jones's team, and fair play. He just did a fantastic game. He deserves to be commended. He has to be the number one person here as a standout debutant, and he's just. I think we're going to see him go places with Ireland. So I'm delighted that he started. Next up there, you have Rinosuke Ito. So, Japanese there. Probably the Nations Championship boldest selection story. 21-year-old Meiji University there. He started at 10 against Italy in round 1. Only his second professional game was a test match. So that is huge. He scored 13 points and he ran the show there with the win over Italy. So you have to say he is a player of the future, and Gonzalo Quesada actually called him a player of the future there. So yeah, Eddie Jones obviously sees something in him. He's brought him on. Huge debut for him as well. So it's crazy. I suppose the Nation Championship so far has been the test series for debuts, and I love it. These are the players we're going to be talking about for a long time coming down the line. So yeah, look, he probably didn't replicate the same magic against Ireland's rush defence, but he deserves credit for the game against Italy. Very, very good. One there that took me by surprise now, and it's probably because I don't really watch too much top 14 rugby, and that is Aaron Grandidier Nkanang. He's a London-born centre, right, who came off the bench in Brisbane, and he scored twice on his debut. Absolutely crazy. When he actually started playing, I remember turning on for his second try, and I was like, who is that winger that they're after bringing on? I don't even know him. He wasn't a winger. He's a centre, but he has the speed of a winger. Absolutely crazy. Like, when you have him with the likes of Atsisogbe on the pitch, and you're thinking, there's a very fresh legged winger there coming on, and he's actually a centre. Crazy, right? But fantastic for him. Obviously a debut with 2 tries. What are you asking for? That is unreal. But you're going to see his name coming up an awful lot more. Crazy. Go watch his 2 tries. They were so good, so fast paced. My God, it's actually scary. But I suppose that's the youth of today, isn't it? They're coming up and they're just so they're so fast and so strong. We're going to be talking about Aaron Grandidier Nkanang there for a lot longer, mind you. You're going to see him everywhere. Moving over there to England as well, you have to talk about Kaluri there and Bernard Jans van Rensburg. Very strong English name there. He's actually from South Africa originally, but Kaluri is actually 19-year-old, and he's a Saracen sensation, obviously. So if you watch Premiership rugby, you'd know him. Fair play to him coming on, very good. But Jans van Rensburg there, he really sold the show. Fantastic. South Africa born, Bristol centre, played an awful lot of games for Bristol, but he qualified on residency on the 8th of July. So there you go, that's how close it is. But he scored 218 seconds after coming on as a HIA replacement. So yeah, fantastic there. It's just, he probably got overshadowed there by Henry Pollock's hat-trick, so he was the one getting the social clips. But realistically, Jans van Rensburg there deserved an awful lot of credit for his debut. And then we had a series of all black rookies. Now, to name them out is Murby, Segner, Numia, and I'm going to butcher this one now. It's Finin Ganonofo. But I'm only going to talk about two here, and that's Murby and Segner, right? Crazy, right? Josh Murby and Anton Segner, they debuted against Italy in Wellington, right? Both of them played an absolute blinder. Huge debuts in New Zealand, right? But the one I want to talk about is Josh Murby, right? He is of Maori descent. He actually did play, funny enough, 2 matches in the Maori All Blacks, and one of them was against Ireland. Now, they lost. It was in 2022. Ireland won that one. But Josh Murby played such a good game. So good. Now, again, another thing that we kind of overshadowed him, another hat-trick, is Will Jordan's hat-trick. But my God, those players were so good. Murby now is obviously in the game a long time. Very varied clubs that he's been played for. But you're going to see these names coming up, and I would not be surprised if they weren't named. Sorry, I'd be surprised Jesus, I'd be surprised they weren't named against Ireland, at least on the bench, because they are very, very good. But yeah, let me know who your standout debutant was. It might probably be in that list. I did name out a few of them, but I'll tell you one thing, I'm delighted to see it. The World Cup needs fresh legs, an awful lot of new players coming up there. And especially Ireland, we need to blood these lads in. So a great time for it, and I'm delighted. Bring them on. Alright folks, that is her. 2 for 2 there for Ireland, but New Zealand coming up. So let's hope now that we have a very good game coming up in Eden Park. If you haven't already, please do follow us on social media, Instagram, Reddit and Blue Sky. And as always, thanks for listening.